Question number 3, Ross Greer.
Thank you. Flight data shows that in the week leading up to the US and Israeli attack on Iran, 24 US military aircraft landed at Prestwick Airport, some of which came directly from Israel. That's a significant increase in American military activity at an airport owned by the Scottish Government. We now know this was in preparation for their bombing campaign against Iran. Trump and Netanyahu are not liberating the Iranian people from their brutal regime by murdering their children, as they did when they killed dozens of little girls in a Tehran school shortly after they arrived for school on Saturday. The Israeli military is rightly banned from using Prestwick Airport because of their genocidal assault on Palestine. The First Minister said that America and Israel's attack on Iran is not compatible with the international rules-based system. In other words, it is illegal under international law. So surely he will now ban the American military from using Prestwick Airport.
First Minister.
President Officer, let me reiterate what I've said publicly on this issue, that I cannot see how the intervention by the United States and Israel is compatible with an international rules-based system. And the implications of this are now being felt very directly by our own citizens, many of whom are stranded in the Middle East. And the position that the Prime Minister finds himself in of having to address the security implications for our citizens as a consequence of the American and Israeli action demonstrates how these issues can escalate out of control very, very quickly indeed and pose direct risks to our citizens. So I am concerned for the well-being of Scottish citizens who are trapped in the Middle East, and we are working with the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office to try to seek the repatriation of those individuals as quickly as it is safe to do so, given the risks and the threats that are faced. Now, in relation to the question of the use of Prestwick Airport, the Government is in the process of establishing clarity around the use by the American Air Force of Prestwick Airport. That is a process of inquiry that is underway, and obviously when the Government has more to say on that question, we will share that with Parliament.
Ross Greer.
The First Minister is right that America's attack on Iran is incompatible with international law. But he's now seeking an answer that we already have about US use of Prestwick Airport. We can see the flight data. We see the flights between Prestwick Airport and Israel by the US military. It's abundantly obvious what they're doing. Spain, a fellow NATO member, has now banned the US military from using their air bases. Their Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, said you can be against a hateful regime and at the same time against an unjustified and dangerous military intervention that is outside of international law. I believe the First Minister agrees with that statement. It's very similar to statements he made when he marched against the war against Iraq in 2003. The US is using an airport owned by the Scottish Government to wage an illegal war, killing hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent people. But at the moment, Scotland's First Minister is sitting on his hands. This government says it stands up for Scotland. Why does that stop the moment it might involve Donald Trump? Why won't the First Minister kick Trump's troops out of Prestwick Airport immediately?
First Minister.
I think it's pretty clear from what I've said over the last few days that I am in no way, shape or form a supporter of what has happened in the course of the last few days. No way, shape or form, and no amount of the characterisation of my stance that Mr Greer has put on the record will demonstrate that to be the case. Now, I am taking the steps within government to establish the detail around about the use of Prestwick Airport. When the government has more to say to Parliament about that, we will do so. But let me reiterate that I believe the intervention by Israel and the United States is incompatible with the international rules-based system, and that has been the position of my government and will continue to be so.